What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got more cards. Yeah, this one's gonna be pretty cool. We got two new cards for the Prismatic God box, I think is the name of that set. That's the PGB is, so a couple like God type cards. Then we have some premium pack cards from the manga, which is pretty cool. Actually some interesting cards in here, another like fossil card and stuff. And then we do have the Proxy Horse. Got revealed a couple days ago, but I didn't want to make a whole video on it, so we're gonna throw it in here and just go over everything all at once. So first off, here we have Millennium Seeker. Kind of resembles Shoddy apparently from the anime and manga, which is pretty cool. You know, it's nice to add like that extra lore. I like that for sure. He is a level 4 dark spellcaster effect monster with 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense, and you can only use his first and second effects once per turn each. When you take 1,000 or more battle or effect damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. I kind of like how generic that is. That means even in a deck where you just have a card that, like, or multiple cards that just pay a life points to work, he just jumps out of the hand, which is not half bad as an extender. Next up, you says you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard that does not have question mark attack. Your opponent can choose one monster in their deck that does not have question mark attack, but if they do not choose a monster, or if that target's attack is higher than their chosen monsters, special summon that target to your field. Also shuffle their chosen monster, if any, back into the deck. Otherwise, your opponent adds their chosen monster to their hand. Okay, so it seems to be the idea here is like you're trying to bet that like the monster you're trying to get out of your opponent's grave is higher attack than anything in their main deck. Which actually isn't the worst. I mean, a couple things that come to mind is something like Nibiru could be annoying. That like if anybody playing Nibiru just flashes Nibiru, you got to be picking something bigger than 3,000 in the is higher than the monster that they have in grave, or yeah. So it's like it's kind of awkward there, but I think that's kind of an interesting effect. You don't want to risk letting them add the card for free, but in a very specific metagame where you know exactly like what your opponent's deck kind of consists of, and Nibiru's not popular, could actually be a decent card, knowing that they don't play high attack monsters. So kind of a cool card, extender card, pretty cool. Next up, we have Zolga the Prophet. This is just like a new age Zolga card. He is a level 4 Earth Fairy, 1,700 attack, 1,200 defense, and his first and second effects are hard once per turn. First effect reads, if you control an Earth Fairy other than himself, you can special it from the hand, then look at up to 5 cards from the top of each deck. That is insane. That's actually a pretty crazy effect. You get to look at your own, see your own future, while also seeing your opponent's at the same time. One thing I will say is I don't think there's a ton of Earth Fairies. Fairies just tend to be light or even sometimes dark, but mainly just light all the way around. So that's not the most popular thing other than like the original Zolga, but still, cool card. Second effect reads, when a monster is normal summoned by tributing this card, when a monster normal summoned by tributing this card declares an attacks, you can banish this card from your graveyard to destroy that monster, and if you do, inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. I'm curious if destroy that monster means destroy your monster, or destroy the monster it's attacking to then inflict 2,000 to your opponent. I'm not sure how that translation works. It's a little bit of a rough translation. It says destroy that monster. But it doesn't say like target a monster, so I'm curious what that means there. But we'll see. Hopefully it means the opponents and not destroy your own monster, deal 2,000. Overall, I think it's an extender. Lets you look at the top of decks, which gives you deck knowledge of like what they're playing and maybe even some specific tech cards. It's pretty cool. And yeah, I like it. I like them both. I think they're cool. I don't think either of them are like giant meta threats, but I do think they're interesting, especially if we eventually get just like a Earth Fairy deck that this guy just like becomes like immediately busted in. That'd be crazy as an extender for sure, but we'll see. All right, next up we're going to move to these premium pack cards. We're going to start off with a couple of vanillas. You've got Doll Monster Miss Madchen. She's just a level 4 light fairy with 0/0 for the stats, so pretty cool. You also have Doll Monster Bear, which is a Wind Beast normal monster, also kind of cool. Then you have our new guy, Grandpa Demetto, which kind of reminds me of Geppetto from Pinocchio, but okay, still cool. I like his design. It's very like almost Disney-esque, right? Like giving that kind of vibe. But he's a level 1 dark spellcaster, so he's level 1, which could be interesting. 1/1 slash where art thou. You can only use each of his 2 effects once per turn each. First effect says you can attach 1 material from your Princess Cologne. Not even sure exactly what that card is, so we're going to look that up real quick. Cologne. Let's see. Oh gosh, okay. When this card is XE summoned, you can target a box of friend in your graveyard, special summon that target. If you control another monster, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, or for attacks. And if a face-up normal monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can attach a material to special summon 1 normal monster from your deck or graveyard in face-up defense position. Okay, so a very, very defensive card, so he allows you to kind of work with that, which is kind of cool. So you get to detach a material from her to special summon up to 2 normal monsters with 0 attack from or defense from your grave as level 8 dark monsters. Now that's the interesting part right there. You're essentially just setting yourself up for an immediate rank 8 play, which is actually pretty cool. The only thing is you do need to be set up with at least 2 normal monsters in grave, so that's definitely the clunky part there, but not the end of the world. Definitely certainly doable in certain decks, but we'll see. And the second effect reads, if your Xyz monster activates an effect by detaching a material that was originally a normal monster, you can target that Xyz monster and 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy destroy that opponent's monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that Xyz monster's rank times 300. Okay, so kind of a cool thing here is he kind of adds to like disruption for the deck, especially if anything can detach a vanilla as a quick effect. Right, on your opponent's turn, this triggers him to pop another card and then, deal some damage to your opponent. So I like that he has extra value outside of just being an extender, also potentially adding more disruption. I think he's actually a pretty interesting card for the little mini archetype here. And then we finish up with Doll Happiness. This is a continuous spell, and it's you can only activate a card with its name once per turn. Its first effect reads, when this card resolves, add either a Grandpa Demetto or box of friends from your deck to the hand. Okay, we got a search spell. Nice. Second effect, monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters you control with 0 attack or defense or attacks while you control a Princess Cologne. Okay, so Princess Cologne kind of protects herself, and then this card set also protects your vanilla monsters, which is actually pretty cool. Just kind of locks your opponent out of doing like attacking anything. It's pretty cool. And the third effect, once per turn you can destroy 1 monster you control or in your hand, and if you do, send a doll monster card from your deck to the graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for XYZ monsters. So this is also a very, very cool effect. I mean, this is essentially like a diagram effect, except you're sending a card instead of searching one. So maybe not quite as good, and it does lock you into Xyz as far as the extra deck is concerned, but I think it's a pretty good card altogether. I mean, on activation, it's a +1. Gives you extra protection in the battle phase from like pretty much essentially, as long as you put up Cologne, you're kind of locking your opponent out of like the battle phase straight up. And the third effect also gives you the potential to get additional extenders. I don't know off the top of my head other doll monsters that exist here, but the idea here I think is partly that you can search Demetto, then use this second effect to pop a card to send a doll, one of these dolls, to the grave, and then put 2 dolls in there, and then he can just come out and like attempt to get the 2 monsters back and make a rank 8 play. So very good card. I think this card and Demetto are actually very nice cards for what they are, which is pretty cool. All right, moving on, we've got Void Cauldron. It's a continuous trap. It says if an Infernity monster or monsters and or a level 8 Dark Dragon monster you control would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you could banish an Infernity card from your graveyard instead. Okay, just a destruction by card effect replacement effect. Not that good. And if you have any cards in your hand, send this card to the graveyard. Oh, so this card stinks. This card is just terrible. Okay, cool, good to know. Moving on, Flint Kager is an Earth Rock effect monster, level 3, 800 attack, 1600 defense. You can only use both of his effects once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can discard 1 card, and if you do, send 1 fossil fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. Okay, first effect pretty cool. One thing I do like here is that discarding is not cost. So if your opponent wants to negate this, you don't have to discard if you don't want to. Maybe sometimes you'll want to, but still nice nonetheless. And I like this because we've been through the fossil fusions, right? They have the Skull Knight, which is just going to be at any point during your main phase, just going to be a way to just pop a monster. You have the new one that just pops a back row, right? So you've got some utility there. And I believe some of the other ones have there are other effects that they have in Grave. I don't know off the top of my head, but you at least have removal effects here, but also fill your Grave up for fusion requirements for your fossil fusion as well, which is pretty cool. And his second effect reads, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. Then, if Fossil Fusion is in the graveyard, you can return one of your banished Fossil Fusion or a card that specifically listed in its text to the grave. So that's also very nice. If you used one of the fusions to banish themselves to pop something, just reload that back in the grave, do it again. Or if you had to banish something for the Fossil Fusion, because it banishes from grave, you just reload again and be able to set yourself up for another fusion, which is actually pretty good. I think this card's not half bad. Definitely the deck's biggest weakness has always been its like main deck monsters. Like the Fossil Fusion seems decent. They have a good amount of utility as far as the extra deck goes, and put them in grave, and then they actually get you pretty good effects. The deck just doesn't do enough in the main deck, but this is just another decent card. I'm not sure how amazing he is, but he definitely seems respectable for sure. We'll just have to see if he's really, really good or not. But yeah, still a nice card nonetheless. And then I think our last card for the premium pack is Divine Evolution. This is a normal spell, and this card's activation cannot be negated. This card reads, choose one monster you control that hasn't already had the effect of Divine Evolution applied to it, whose original type is Divine Beast, or its original name is the Wicked Avatar, the Wicked Dreadroot, or the Wicked Eraser. And if you do, it gains 1,000 attack and defense. Also, its effects activations cannot be negated, and its activated effects cannot be negated. Also, it gains this effect. When it declares an attack, you can make your opponent send one monster they control to the graveyard. Okay, a lot going on there. It's a pretty interesting card, actually, altogether. I mean, so the downside of this card is you're going to have to play something bad in your deck, like Divine Beast monsters, but we've been seeing a lot of Winged Dragon of Ra, support. So maybe there could be like a cheeky Winged Dragon of Ra deck, and this card's actually not bad there because it just is going to say, this card can't be negated. The Ra's effect can't be negated, which means you can buff him up, give him an extra 1,000 here, and then when he attacks, your opponent has to send another card to the graveyard, another one of their monsters to the grave. That's non-targeting, non-destruction removal, and it's actually not even affected by the card, I think. I think it's the card's not even sent by a card effect because I think your opponent has to choose. And since the opponent chooses, it's almost like evenly matched, where technically it's your opponent choosing what they're banishing, not like the card banishing it itself. So it's like one of those weird things there. But cool card. I'm not sure how practical it is, but we'll have to see. Maybe if it's searchable. I'm not sure it does because it doesn't list any of the actual Egyptian gods and it's in the card text, but we'll have to see on that. But it's a cool card nonetheless. And then we get to the last card here. This is the new jump promo, Proxy Horse. He's a light CYBERSE, level 4 with 1100, and you can only use his 2 effects once per turn each. First effect reads, if you would use this card you control as link material for a CYBERSE monster, you can use one CYBERSE monster in hand as material. That's not half bad. I mean, we already have like cool CYBERSE cards that use themselves as like link material from the hand, but this is kind of nice that if like you just had a handful of normal summons, he by himself at least is going to pull another card out of your hand as link fodder. I don't think he's amazing, but I do think he's respectable. Maybe in a CYBERSE link climb deck he could be okay pulling other cards out of the hand. Not half bad. And then his second effect says, during your end phase, you can banish this card from the grave to target 2 links in your grave, including at least a CYBERSE. So only one of them has to be CYBERSE, and you can return them to the deck. That's a nice reset card for sure, especially if he's in like a link climby deck. You can do something like throw back like a link devotee and a whatever the other one is. Well, hold on, I actually have them right next to me randomly. I actually did Disciple and Devotee, send them back, and you can do that little Disciple Devotee little combo again for like a draw and like double tokens, which is actually pretty cool. So kind of an interesting card. I don't think it's amazing. I was hoping it'd be really like awesome. I think the first effect's decent. I think if he had an effect where he could like special summon himself, like if he was like this combined with what's the one girl card where she just says if you control a CYBERSE, special her from the hand. If he just did that, like if you control CYBERSE, special from the hand, and then he can pull another one out of the hand to use like material, that would be pretty nasty. But unfortunately, I think he's too normal summon reliant. You're going to be forced to normal summon him a lot of the time, but still not a terrible card, just not good enough, I think, to see play in like something like Math Max or Sally's or anything like that, unfortunately. But we'll see. Maybe. Who knows? I still think I love his design, and hopefully we'll get more proxy cards in the future. Just design-wise, I think they look dope, and we've had a couple that are pretty decent, so we'll see there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for all the new cards revealed in like the last couple days. Pretty cool stuff. I think overall, I like the Shoddy and the Zolga cards. I think they actually do have a little bit of potential in very specific strategies, but also just cool like lore cards to add to like, you know, the Egyptian like type cards. For this stuff, I do like Demeto and the Doll Happiness. I think both of these are actually pretty good cards for this mini archetype. We'll see if that brings anything to fruition. This card stinks. This card's kind of interesting. This deck needs more fossil cards. It needed a normal summon that just said like on normal summon, like send a fossil monster from deck to grave to add a fossil card or whatever, something like that. Like that's what they need. And then Divine Evolution, cool card for Egyptian gods, but we'll see. It doesn't seem searchable. And then he's like a mediocre CYBERSE link-up card. So overall, that's what I'm thinking about everything. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think I missed anything. Maybe there's specific interactions that make some of these cards more interesting, more better than I noticed they are. I mean, I don't know every card off the top of my head here. I had to look up the Princess Cologne, just to see what she did. You know, because I had no idea, but still really cool. Yeah, if you want to see more videos like this in the future, new cards when they come out and reviews on them, let me know in the comment section down below and subscribe to the channel for that, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.